Buckle up, folks. We're in for a bumpy ride. It's late at night after Election Day, and I want to answer 6 big questions about the election. What happened? How did it happen? Why did it happen? What could we have done differently? What does this mean for the future? And what do we do next? Question 1. What happened? Donald Trump is going to win the presidency. Republicans have won control of the U.S. Senate, and we don't know the outcome of the House yet. Question 2. How did it happen? The early exit polls show Trump's 3 strongest groups were white men, Hispanic men, and white women. In Georgia, it was even worse. One exit poll said that 69% of white women voted for Trump. Even after he took away their reproductive rights and was found liable for sexual assault, the majority of white women voters still chose patriarchy over their own liberation. On the other hand, Kamala Harris's 3 strongest groups were black women, black men, and Latino women. Question 3, why did it happen? This is a tricky question to answer before all the data is collected, so let me just say this. Some people are blaming inflation and the economy for Trump's success. I don't buy that because black voters are more negatively affected by inflation and the economy than white voters, and we voted overwhelmingly for Kamala Harris. In fact, I don't think it was about issues at all. If you look at policy alone, nearly all of Harris's proposals get majority support, but only half of Trump's did in the recent Washington Post survey. Missouri voters approved a measure to increase the minimum wage, which Harris supports, but still voted for Trump for president. And the majority of Florida voters cast ballots to protect abortion and legalize marijuana, even though they didn't reach the 60% threshold for a constitutional amendment. Those are Democratic positions. Let's be real. Trump doesn't represent policy, he represents cultural resentment against the changing America. Question 4, what could Harris have done differently? There's going to be a lot of debate about campaign strategy, but it's too early to draw definitive conclusions. One Republican complained that Harris should have run a more centrist campaign. I disagree. I think she bent over backwards to accommodate centrists and Republicans. On the other hand, critics on the left argue that she should have run a more progressive campaign to motivate the base. And that's complicated too, because doing so would definitely have cost Democrats the Senate in those tough red states. But the truth is, I don't know that any of that matters. Harris had little more than 100 days to introduce herself to the public and mount a presidential campaign against a powerful white man who was a former president of the United States, bankrolled by the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. In spite of those obstacles, she raised $1 billion, drew huge crowds, and generated excitement in a race that was lifeless before she entered. Trump did everything wrong in his campaign, and it didn't matter to the majority of white voters. He got indicted 4 times, got convicted of 34 felonies, lost the debate to Kamala Harris decisively according to all the polls, couldn't articulate any more than concepts of a plan for health care after 10 years of running for president, flip-flopped repeatedly on abortion, refused to answer a basic question about the minimum wage, simulated a lewd sex act on stage, refused to apologize for a speaker at his rally attacking Puerto Ricans and Latinos, joked about shooting the press, picked a running mate who called him America's Hitler, and was outed by his own former chief of staff for saying Hitler did some good things. Nothing mattered because it was never about issues. White America has been lecturing black people about crime, morality, and patriotism for years, and then they vote for a convicted criminal, sex offender, and insurrectionist to be the president. No black person or woman with Trump's track record and 2 impeachments would ever be nominated, much less elected president. That's why it's not about policy. It's about race and gender and the changing America. Donald Trump is the avatar of white supremacy, and the fact that a small but significant percentage of black and brown people were willing to excuse or embrace his racism, sexism, and xenophobia doesn't disprove that. It just reflects how some of us have assimilated into the same white supremacist beliefs. Question 5. What does this mean for the future? First, Trump will be able to appoint a new attorney general who will fire special counsel Jack Smith and dismiss the criminal charges against him. Second, with the new Republican Senate, Trump will be able to appoint several new Supreme Court justices who will be young enough to give Republicans control of the Supreme Court for the next 20 to 25 years. That means if you wanted reparations, reproductive rights, LGBTQ rights, DEI, environmental protections, or any progressive policy, that won't happen in your lifetime, no matter who succeeds Trump in office, because the courts will strike it down. Third, Trump will be able to appoint vaccine denier RFK Jr. to head up women's health and vaccines. He'll cut taxes for billionaires, which is why rich people like Musk support him anyway. And he may be able to begin his promised mass deportation of immigrants. He also promised to abolish the Department of Education, bring back stop and frisk policing, and give law enforcement immunity from prosecution. So be ready for that too. Question 6. So what do we do next? Hakeem Jeffries will now become the leader of the opposition in Congress. And there is some good news in the results. Josh Stein defeated black Nazi Mark Robinson in North Carolina. Lisa Blunt Rochester and Angela Alsobrooks won Senate seats in Delaware and Maryland. These 2 black women in the U.S. Senate will give us new soldiers in the fight. But what happens next is up to us. A lot of people are hurting right now, and many more will be hurt in the years to come if Trump implements his policies. I recommend self-care. Do what you need to take care of yourself, and remember, you are part of a broader community. We have to be there for each other in these trying times. As I said in my final video before the election, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And no matter what happens in the days to come, I am clear and certain that we are on the right side of history. Don't give up. Live to fight another day.